welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another book review, and today's book is going to be Limitless by Peake. So if you don't know who Peake is, he is a British astronaut. If you live in the UK, you're probably quite aware of him. When did he go up into space? Like 2015, I want to say. I can't believe it's that long ago. But there was major hype around him going into space at the time, and that's when a lot of people, you know, found out about Peake. Now, he's not the first British astronaut to go into space, but he is obviously one of the first, and I think he's probably the first since, you know, social media came into play and it was very much publicised on TV and on the internet. So as someone that loves anything space related, and I've read quite a few space autobiographies, I've got Peake's Ask an Astronaut book, I was definitely interested in picking up this autobiography. This pretty much documents everything from, you know, his childhood to sort of the current day, and so I knew I wanted to pick it up. It is quite a hefty book. It's about 420 or so pages, so it was quite a big book, and I think that's probably why I put off reading it for so long, because, you know, you see such a big massive hardback book and it always like puts you off. I did give this 3 out of 5 stars, and I'll tell you why in a minute, yes, I will say this goes through a lot of his time in the army, and I think that's why I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars, because I'm very much into the astronaut side of things. The astronaut side didn't come into play till at least 2/3 of the way through this book. He talks a lot about his life in the army and wanting to be a pilot, and, you know, fair enough, that is the majority of his life. In the space of his life, going into space is just, you know, a few, like, I think 6 months he was up there for, so really a short amount of time in comparison to how long he was in the army for and trained to be a pilot. So it talks about him, you know, obviously going through school and things, and, you know, he didn't get the best of grades in school. I wrote it down. He did do A-levels, but he got a C, a D and an E, which, you know, C's a pass. I know they've changed it all and things like that, but, you know, a D and an E, not particularly great as far as things go. So he didn't have the best of results when he came out of school, and it's amazing to see, you know, what he's accomplished since then. He was very, like, well driven. He had such a passion for going into the army and things. He joined the cadets when he was young, and, you know, he was obsessed with flying and things. If you are interested in going into the army or reading books about, you know, people's journey, especially pilots and things, you're probably going to enjoy this book more than I did. Sometimes he went so in depth on different planes and things and how they operated, and I have to say I did skim read that a bit because I just wasn't interested in it and I was a little bit bored. That's okay. That just wasn't something that interested me, but if you like those aspects, then it will take your fancy a bit more. So during his training and his time with the army, he ended up being posted over to Ireland and helping out during, like, the really risky times, like the late 80s, 90s, of being in Ireland, and, you know, all the bombs going off and things like that with the IRA. He was posted, I believe, to Africa a little bit, or he at least spent some time there. He spent some time in America, so there is quite a bit of travel going on in this book. And I also didn't know that his wife was also part of the army as well. I don't think she was necessarily training to be a pilot, but when he was posted off on one of the countries, he ended up meeting his future wife, which I think was really sweet. And it does talk a little bit about how they survived a long distance relationship, and I think part of having that army mentality probably helped them be accustomed to that, and it definitely helped obviously later in life when he ended up going into space and being away from his family for 6 months. So like I said, most of this book is about his time in the army. It was around 280 pages out of the 420 by the time we started even reaching this space element of it, and he's very open. He said, you know, as he was a child, he wasn't one of these boys that like knew they wanted to go in space. Like, he had a slight interest for it, but it was nothing out of the normal, and he never thought that he would end up being an astronaut. And I think the ESA, which is the European Space Agency, they put a call out for people all over Europe to become part of the ESA team. I think it was the first time they were opening it up to UK residents, so that created a buzz. And, you know, a lot of people said to him, you should sign up to be an astronaut. You know, there's not so many differences between being in space and being in the army and being a pilot. Obviously there's a spacecraft involved, and there's a lot of the same sort of disciplines that they have to follow, and also, you know, being away from a base for a period of time. So he entered. He never thought he'd obviously get through, and it was really interesting actually to see it from the point of view from the ESA, which is obviously based in Europe and in Cologne, as opposed to NASA and Houston and in Florida. So it was different, because up until this point I've only read like American astronaut stories and how they went through the process at NASA. Obviously there is a lot of similarities in their training, but obviously there are some differences, and it was obviously based mostly in Europe. They did obviously go over to America and Houston, and they spent some time in Houston, but obviously he was representing Europe and representing the UK. So the time goes for him to go up in space, and that was, you know, I like flew through that aspect of the book because I just find it so fascinating. And he did do a spacewalk, so that's quite exciting. You know, not all astronauts get to go up and actually leave the space station, so that was pretty interesting. And I think, I'm not sure if he was the first astronaut, like first British astronaut to do a space walk. The first astronaut, British astronaut, if you're curious, is Helen Sharman. I'm not sure if she did a spacewalk at all, but he was definitely the first astronaut to go out with the Union Jack velcroed to his suit, so that's pretty exciting. And he actually ended up keeping that. I don't know if he was supposed to, but he took that and brought it back down to Earth with him. So yes, that was quite interesting. There's a little bit of a couple of things go wrong along the way, and I just found, you know, that whole time the best part of the book for me. I'm not going to go into different aspects too much because I want you to, you know, read it for the first time and experience that. Just bear in mind, it's not all about space. If you're looking for a book from Tim Peake about time and space, read Ask an Astronaut. It's not quite like biography setup, but you do get him answering all these questions that people have submitted to him. So I would say maybe go and read that one. If you're willing to sit through 200 and so pages of his time being a pilot, being in the RAF, then go ahead. But just bear that in mind. So yes, I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. I wish I could have given it more, but that's just what I thought of this book. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little mini book review. Let me know if you're thinking of picking it up. If you've read any other astronaut, you know, biographies that you've enjoyed, let me know. I'm just looking at my shelf of like spacey books. I've read, I believe, Scott Kelly, I think. I can't see his book, but I'm sure I might have read that at some point. And I'm seeing Mike Massimino, that's one of my favourites. So if you know of any other good astronaut space books, I definitely would like to read one from a woman. So I think I'm going to be on the hunt for that. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this book review down below, and make sure you like the video, that way I know if I can do more book reviews. And also make sure you subscribe down below, and then you can see when I post more reviews. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.